Glad to have you back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. We're talking insurance now. According to the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, in the first quarter of 2015, total assets in the market hit about 711.4 billion naira from 347.1 billion naira recorded in 2007. And so the question is, where is this growth coming from? Where is this increase coming from? How do we have a total assets of nearly over 100% growth in the last, say, 8 years? Where is this growth coming from? I'll be having a conversation with Shino Olubu. He's the head of research at Express Discount Asset Management. Shino, thank you so much for coming in.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's talk about the market. Total assets hit 711.4 billion naira in the first quarter of 2015. And people are still saying that there's still low penetration in the insurance sector. So why and how is the sector growing?
Thank you very much, Harry. The first thing to say is what brings about growth in the assets of any industry, whether insurance or any industry whatsoever. What I can say to that is because assets, total asset is a function of a lot of things: the equity that a company has, a number of profit that the company brings together, even the current asset of the company. So when you bring all of this together, you have the asset. So for you to have growth in assets, it could be a function of either increase in equity, that's an injection of more equity, or increase in profit, or reduction in losses. So that said, according to NICOM, they are saying that as at the first quarter of this year, total asset is 795 approximately, against 95 against the figure for the corresponding quarter of 2014, which was 711. So if you compare the two figures, you are seeing a growth of about 11%, which to me is somewhat significant. However, it might not be doing justice to it if you look at it in silo. It's important for you to compare that figure. You put the figure into perspective. What are they been able to generate in terms of gross premium from the so-called assets? Also, what have they been able to generate in terms of profit after tax? Because by the time you put that into perspective, you are talking about return on assets. What have they been able to give to the owners of these assets in terms of profitability? So if you put that into perspective, if you try to, according to the same report, they are saying that the profit after tax for over the same period is about 5.45. If you annualize 5.45 billion, you're going to have an annual figure of around 21 billion.
So the question is, where are these assets coming from? Because I remember that for so long, there was this very strong apathy towards insurance companies. Not a lot of people wanted to buy insurance policies, whether from the corporates, whether from the personal aspect. So it seemed as if we had a very low appreciation of what insurance could do for not just the individual, the corporate organization, but for the economy as a whole.
Okay, I'm still going to the fact that we have not done enough in terms of where the insurance sector should be. Would you allow me to just hold on that for a bit? Let me talk about what they have been able to do with the asset they have. Now, permit me to say that you don't talk about policy holders when it comes to assets. They might have increased their assets. Don't forget that even NICOM imposed or forced these operators to up their capital base. Now, for a life business insurance, you have to take your capital base to 2 billion, for non-life 3 billion, for composite 5 billion, and for reinsurance 10 billion. Now, it means therefore that if you recapitalize, it's going to have an effect on your total asset. So I'm trying to answer your question where you asked me that where is the asset coming from. So whatever comes from the policy holders in form of gross premium would only add to assets in terms of profitability. What you get in terms of premium does not go into asset directly. So that is not to say that we have got it right. Now let me come back to other metrics. There are other metrics that you need to look at when we want to know whether the insurance sector is growing or not. Now, for the records, the insurance sector is not where it should be in terms of the potentials that the sector has got. The sector is sitting on a huge population of 150 million. That's a very huge market. The has a growth estimated to be around 2.54% growth. Now, out of this population, we have a very young population whose median age is about 17 years. If you have a 17 years median age, it means that between 17 years and 52 years, which is the life expectancy ratio of Nigeria, it means that you still have a lot of things to go in terms of the potential that the industry has got. Now, if you look at it another way, which is looking at the dimension of the population, in which case half of the population reside in the urban area, where the bulk of the products of insurance are needed. So if the insurance company are not really doing this much, it means that there's something fundamental that needs to be addressed in terms of how rich their manpower resources is, in terms of how rich their technology is, in order to harness the market. Because if you look at SWOT analysis, you can have opportunities out there and may not be able to harness the opportunity if you don't have the strength to do that. Now, the opportunities are there in terms of the figures I just read out to you now. Even the urban migration is about 3% annually. It means that people, the way that which people move from the rural area
ready
to
market constantly for insurance.
For insurance. Now, in spite of all of these I mentioned to you, the penetration rate of insurance is around 0.43%.
But what we have is 0.6%.
Well, from my analysis, if you do it post-rebasing of the GDP, if you use the new GDP figure, because actually penetration rate is measured by gross premium as a ratio of the GDP figure. So by that way, we are going to be having around 0.43%. That is too small when you compare to countries like Kenya. Kenya has 0.3, has about 3%. Ghana has about 3%. South Africa has a whopping 13.3% insurance penetration, which is the 6th largest in the world. So what are we not doing? What is it that we need to do that we are not doing rightly? Now, another metric you can use to measure the depth of insurance is insurance density. For Nigeria, insurance density is generally measured by gross premium as a percentage of the population. So for Nigeria, the insurance density for Nigeria is around $8.9 US. That is what insurance premium for Nigeria, the density is for Nigeria. For Ghana, that has a population of 25 million, about the size of Lagos, has insurance density of a whopping $29 US.
So, Shino, with all these figures we've reeled out, it shows that we're clearly lacking something somewhere. And in the last couple of years, the NICOM has, as much as possible, tried to see how operators can deepen the market. And you already mentioned it by telling them to shore up their capital base. So that's one aspect. Introduce more products into the market that will appeal to consumers to want to purchase this product. But then again, you mentioned another critical thing. There's a lack of capacity. No capacity, no depth.
Well, permit me to quickly just go into the challenges while I answer the question. Let me start with the one you just mentioned, which is low skills capacity. Now, I listen to analysts, I listen to even operators, and I heard them say that government should compel people to come up, multinationals, that they should, as a matter of fact, retain a particular percentage of local content. Now, this is us saying that you must, instead of doing that, why don't you make our market attractive? Why don't you build capacity that will give these so-called operators the confidence to approach you to
ensure their risk
with you? Now, if they are shying away from ensuring their risk where they are domiciled, beyond the fact that they want to repatriate or profit or repatriate employment or wherever they are, I think there's more to it in terms of fundamental, because actually it might cost less for them to do that if they do. That's number one. I'm saying that we are lacking in terms of capacity, human capacity, and ICT. That's one. Then two, let's not forget the fact I read one fundamental factor, which is Nigerians are historically socially averse to insurance, and these are some of these that are inherent in our religious beliefs. Some believe that, take for example, that if you're trying to insure your risk, you are demeaning your faith in God. Because
what
if
kind
you,
of risk are you talking about now? You mean taking out a life policy, life insurance?
even including even comprehensive motor, are you saying that you do not trust God enough to, even your pastor has been praying for you to get a job. If you get a job with an insurance company and you come to him and say, Pastor, please, could you just buy, don't be sorry, he says that Jesus is my insurance. So with this kind of apathy towards insurance business, and these are factors that are beyond the control, beyond the purview of this insurance company. Now, the last thing I'd like to mention in terms of challenges is the state of the economy. Now, the state of the economy is what will tell the classification of products by consumers. Now, what a consumer takes to be a luxury in Nigeria could be taken as a necessity in other climes, depending on the level of development. Now, I'm not sure for an average Nigerian, if you ask him to list a scale of preference, you don't be surprised if insurance is not part of a scale of preference. The least that could happen, the best that could happen would be that it will be the last on the list of scale of preference. So if you have that kind of thing, it means that I will only think of insurance, either when I'm compelled to, as a case of third-party motor insurance,
yes,
or group insurance. It's not something I want to do willingly by dipping my hands into the disponible income that I perceive as being too small on it. So that's the dimension.
Well, Sean, let's take a quick break. We'll catch our breath and come back and continue this conversation. So we've listed the challenges, we've listed the issues, we've listed also the opportunities. But how can this sector be stimulated to grow more? Business Morning continues in just a moment. Shino Olubu will still be here with me in the studio when I return in a moment. Stay with us.